It's May 23rd, 2018. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined as always by Raj Giri. Chris Featherstone coming along here in a minute. Going to talk about SmackDown Live for May 22nd, 2018. Man, what a difference a night makes. I feel like a broken record every week, but SmackDown once again managed to pull off a pretty tight, entertaining 2-hour show as opposed to that long 3-hour slog that Monday Night Raw was this week.
Yeah, it was a fun show. Again, nothing really earth-shattering. I guess it's kind of like a broken record, but not much is happening this time of year. So if you're looking for big storyline, big moments or storyline things happening, it's not happening right now. But it was a fun show. It was easy to watch, easy to sit through. Daniel Bryan and Jeff Hardy had a really fun match, so I dug it.
Yeah, Fox spent their money on the right show of the two. Chris, how's it going, man?
It is well. I am still very sore, but this, I've learned the past 3.5 weeks since my surgery that staying home isn't as bad as I thought it would initially be.
Oh, it's the absolute best. I mean, overall, we're when you're not recovering. So, what was your surgery, man?
I had a spinal fusion L5S1.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I am the human metal detector alert for the rest of my life.
Ooh. So you're gonna have problems at the airport
every time. I'm like, beep beep beep. It's just my back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, at least
I've had back problems for over 20 years, and so hopefully this will change everything up and start me afresh.
Good, man. Good. Well, and in recuperating, yes, spending time at home. See, I find that as I get older, even WWE is coming back to the area in June, and it was just kind of like, you know what? I'd rather just have a Saturday at home doing absolutely nothing. Sounds better than getting in the car, dealing with everything, going through all the challenges.
You're lucky. I got 2 young daughters, so that's not possible here.
I've got 2 young boys and a 6-month-old girl, so it's hectic in here too. Yeah.
And meanwhile, I've got piles of disposable income. Which
there you go.
Weird Al Yankovic concerts.
Exactly. Right. Like Funko Pop vinyls. I'm like, oh, they're coming out with some from Coming to America. I need to buy that entire set. Oh man. So SmackDown last night. What did you think, Chris? Especially compared to Raw this week.
SmackDown was decent. I think it was a decent way to impress Fox. I'm sure they have a very hawk eye toward their programming, probably now more than ever. Their interest probably piled up tremendously nowadays, and so I think it was a pretty decent way to kind of invite them unofficially. I know that things won't really kick in until fall of next year, but
yeah.
It was a good way to kind of introduce the relationship.
And one thing this is a correction. I know we were a little punchy by the end of the Raw podcast on Monday, but part of with Fox when they're talking about the new Fox is that Fox is going to be much more reliant on things like WWE live sports. So the new Fox is going to be Fox, the broadcast network that includes Fox News, Fox Broadcasting, Fox Studios that makes all the movies, that produces The Simpsons. That is what Disney is acquiring, not the broadcast network itself. So Fox
they're not acquiring Fox News, though.
No, not Fox. No, Disney's acquiring Fox Studios. So Disney's not acquiring Fox Broadcasting either. So what's happening?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So now Fox Broadcasting under the new Fox no longer has that in-house pipeline of content that they once had.
Right. Rupert and Lachlan Murdoch is the one, the two, Rupert, the father, and Lachlan, the son. They're the ones that purchased. I think Rupert sold some of his Fox stocks shares to Disney, if I'm not mistaken. And then he bought the new Fox. He acquired that, if I'm not mistaken, based on my research. And so him and Lachlan is co-heading the new Fox, which, like you said, includes Fox Network 1 and 2.
Yeah,
but no longer FX and no longer FXX. I think that belongs to Disney now, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting. Yeah. So I think last night, so apparently off the air, The Miz made a comment about SmackDown Live being $1 billion franchise, but on the air, it was business as usual.
Yeah.
Show open with Miz TV, Miz bringing out the New Day, really dragging out this process of which one of them is going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match for the slot that they earned last week. And of course, the Miz getting angry, demanding answers, devolved into the Miz versus Big E last night, which was really a different match. I think they were touting it as the first time these two have ever faced off, at least in recent memory. What did you think, Chris, of this open to the show and this both the segment and the match that followed?
I loved it. There's some rumblings that Big E may be the chosen one, and I've even heard rumors, as Bruce Pritchard would say, rumor and innuendo, that Big E is the chosen one, maybe to even go further and have a main event push. Don't know if that's true, of course, but if it is true, I'd be a fan of. I've been a fan of Big E for quite some time. I was one of the handful of people that marked out when he beat Curtis Axel for the Intercontinental Championship many moons ago. So I've always been big on Big E, and I think, and it's so funny because a lot of my friends, they've turned a corner now on the New Day, but I've liked the New Day since day one. I was one of the only people. It's funny because when they came to, I'm an Ohioan from Columbus. I go to all the Columbus events, WWE, and it no lie, when the infancy of the New Day, I was the only one. You can see me. I was on the floor. You could see me in the back. I was the only one on the floor who actually stood up and was cheering for the New Day. I think it was like a Raw or a SmackDown. I forgot what it was, but I was literally the only one standing up cheering for the New Day. A couple years later, New Day rocks, pancakes. And something else I noticed that I just love about just this is the reason why, to me, New Day continues to have life to the trio as a whole. I always noticed just odd stuff. I'm about to become a doctor in psychology, so I always just notice odd stuff. And what allowed them to have even more life to the character is the new shame thing that they do. And it's still something for the fans to interact with. Now they're throwing pancakes at people and saying shame. And so that's, they say who, the crowd says who. Of course, the crowd says New Day, and now their new thing is shame. That's even bringing more life to the New Day character. So I'm a fan of it, and I think if Big E is the chosen one to go far, I'm totally on board with it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually tweeted out last night. I said I wouldn't mind Big E winning Money in the Bank and splitting from the New Day. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to feud, but just kind of Big E goes on and does his own thing, because I think he has a ton of potential as a singles. For me personally, I'd like it if Big E toned some of the stuff down, like the gyrations and stuff. It just doesn't seem main event to me when I see that. But I think he is.
He's the babyface Rick Rude, Raj.
Yeah. And then the oiling up his chest and stuff.
I enjoyed taking the swig of maple syrup and spitting it into a bucket last night. I thought that was some
yeah. I mean,
stuff.
it's funny, it's entertaining, but it's also not. It doesn't scream main event. It doesn't scream like this guy should be facing Brock Lesnar with the antics. But as a talent, I think he definitely could be in that mix. The New Day. Look, I feel like they've gotten stale over the past few years, but the crowd seems more into them than ever. I mean, they get loud reactions, so it's almost one of those things where I wouldn't split them up, because why? If it ain't broken, don't fix it. And if the crowd is still into them, keep going with it until you see it dying down. Yeah, but yeah, I'm all for Big E winning. But I thought I liked this segment because it was very different. When you traditionally think of the opening SmackDown segment, you think of a GM and Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. So it involved different parties that normally aren't in that opening segment. So I thought it was really cool. I thought it was entertaining too. I think the Miz is just really entertaining right now, even though his outfit too doesn't scream man.
Jesus, and he's running into the ground. I mean, the Miz is normally a pretty sharp dressed guy, But this year's WrestleMania outfit is just like, oh, garish. I mean, just really, really awful.
It's too like, you know, a lot of wrestling outfits are garish, but you could do it and still pull, like Ric Flair's robe. If you were wearing that, you know, back in the day, you know, people would think it's garish, but it works in wrestling. The Miz's doesn't. It still looks it just looks out of place.
Yeah. Real quick about the tag team thing, about the New Day thing.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen for years, and this is what I don't want from the New Day, because the thing is, if you split the New Day up, you have to consider, are they going to be better as singles or just as successful as singles competitors as they have as a unit? And I don't think so.
Oh,
you know, Kofi Kingston, you know, U.S. champ, Intercontinental champ, you know, he's got a string of titles, but he still never broke that glass ceiling as a singles competitor. And I don't see him doing that again, even if they broke up. Same thing with Xavier, awesome competitor, but I don't see him going past the success of the New Day. That's the reason why I think that's the reason why you keep them as a team. And we've seen it for many years, just that I call it the genetic complex. And what that is that when you break a team up, usually one person soars and one flounders. I mean, we saw that with Harlem Heat with like Booker T and Stevie Ray. You know, the Steiner brothers, Scott became the main eventer. Rick was the mid-carder. You know what I mean? So we've seen that with Hart Foundation, exactly. You know, Brett and Anvil. So we get that. We've seen that genetic complex for quite some time in the world of professional wrestling. And if we do it, you know, I think we have an opportunity. If Big E, if you break him from the New Day, he's the star. And I think Kofi and Xavier just kind of muddle and kind of, you know, sink in that mid-card purgatory again.
But Chris, it's probably worth it if you're going to get a main eventer out of it, though. Because if you didn't break up the Hart Foundation, if you didn't break up the Rockers, you're stuck with a mid-card tag team as opposed to your Bret Harts and your Shawn Michaels and, you know, the Booker T's, you know, that you end up getting by doing the split.
I agree with that.
Xavier as Kofi as a tag team as well.
I agree with that. The problem is it's always at the expense of someone just being a nobody at the end of the deal, you know. And I don't want, the reason why I'm saying that, I don't want that for Kofi and Xavier. You know, I mean, we've seen it with Brett. I mean, we've seen it with Jim Neidhart. We've seen it with Stevie Ray in many aspects. But I just think Kofi is too good of a talent for him to be equal to Jim Neidhart. I mean, Jim Neidhart, if you're listening to, if you're watching this podcast.
But let's move on here in a second. But they are a lot more talented than those guys as well. And I think you could keep, and like I said, you could keep them as a tag team.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't split them up. I would just have like Big E be the guy, and then Xavier and Kofi be the tag team. You don't have to split up the New Day.
And that's what I was saying.
Branch off.
I was saying you don't have them feud. They can still be buddies and everything, but they're Big E moved to a singles.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Well, this match ended last night with the Bar interfering, allowing the Miz to pin Big E.
I was almost worried they were going to do the same thing on Raw, where the Bar interfered and it's a DQ, and then it immediately leads to a 6-man.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, like they did on Raw.
Well,
God, that didn't happen.
But and it kind of led to that
week from it,
with the finish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So next week it's the 6-man with the Bar and the Miz against the New Day. I guess the New Day get their win back. Or you know.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, the tag division on SmackDown Live right now. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Last night we saw Lana versus Billie Kay qualifier for Money in the Bank. Chris, are you a believer? Lana won. She's going on to Money in the Bank. This
Albany, New York sure is. But no. I just, you know, she's Lana is not the best. Lana is not number one. Clap. But you know, it was a good moment. That kick was cool. You know, the X-Pac, what is that called? What's that finish called? The face buster. I don't know. I forgot what X-Pac called it, but
X Factor.
X Factor, yes, the X Factor. So I guess the Lana factor now. You know, it's just a moment. The fans are into it. She's got so much growth to do. You know, she's a part of the ladder match. I hope she does not win it. I really hope she doesn't win it. But you know, it's interesting to see where it is. Is she a face now? You know what I mean? Because she was booked as she was booked going against the heel, which is Billie Kay. The fans are into her because they're into Rusev. You know, I think she's in a bit of a conundrum here of where she goes from this, you know, winning this match and just her character as a whole from henceforth.
And to be fair, that was the best she's looked. I mean, granted, absolutely. It was 30 seconds.
But you know what? That was a credible look. If I was watching SmackDown for the first time last night, I would have thought that Lana, Aiden English, and Daniel Bryan were the biggest stars in all of WWE.
Yeah, she was. I mean, she was super over. That Aiden English. You know, the rub is spread from Rusev to. Did they say why Rusev wasn't there?
No, but they showed the tweet, him wishing her luck. I thought Aiden's intro was money when he pulled out the Lana Day sign. I mean, that whole thing last night was just a fantastic piece of sports entertainment. That whole segment, I thought, from intro to finish, and even with the Iconics. I mean, you know, they did their thing. That's still kind of disconnect.
Someone is saying that they said that Rusev was in Bulgaria. Which could have been. They were. I mean, they were in Europe. It's not that. He
could have legitimately been in Bulgaria. That's true. We're just laughing because it seems like such a kayfabe reason. Just say he was in Bulgaria,
right? You would think otherwise he would have been there.
Yeah.
But you know, again, 30 seconds. But Lana. She looked good with the little she had to do. I would not have her win Money in the Bank. I know you want it, Glenn. I just feel like
so good for like 6 months. Mr. and Mrs. Money in the Bank.
Why would you want? We talk about the women's division and trying to be taken as seriously. It's not serious if Lana wins. The Money in the Bank winner is very likely going to be the next women's champion. You should have someone credible in there, and Lana's not at that level yet.
I think
you're just making it a joke.
Well, I thought Baron Corbin winning Money in the Bank was debasing the legacy.
It wasn't a joke, though. So. A joke would be like Bo Dallas or someone like that, and that's what Lana NXT winning would be like.
Bo Dallas,
huh?
Former NXT champion Bo Dallas.
Yes, B Team Bo Dallas. If he won, that would be like him winning Money in the Bank because it's funny. But when you're talking about the top level, I don't think you should have that much comedy in there.
Someone would say Carmella. Some might argue Carmella. Even
and look, the women's division has fallen in just like the last 2 months. It's fallen so much. Well, look, on top.
I think we can all agree, as long as it's not James Ellsworth winning it again the first time, prompting a redo, it'll be good. But I think it's a trade-off. It really depends. I mean, look, of course, heart of hearts, I would love to see someone like Becky win and carry that through. But the way that they booked Carmella this year, I mean. That was her storyline. And I think with Rusev and Lana, they need something for them. I think this would be a good gimmick to put on them. But again, it depends on how they want to go with it.
See, here's the thing. Especially as a heel, a lot of times, and we've seen it just from a traditional standpoint, your character can far exceed your athletic ability. I mean, we've seen that with so many people throughout the years. And I think that's where Carmella is. That's why I'm not particularly upset that she won it and that she cashed in. Cashing in against Charlotte right after she beat Asuka, I wasn't okay with that.
No, I mean it's ridiculous.
But this period, though, I'm not opposed to it because she is a great heel. I mean, she is one of the only pure heels in the WWE that people actually jeer. And her and Alexa Bliss, they both do a fantastic job of. They don't feed into the cheers that they get. They they cut them from the legs. I mean, even Alexa Bliss, she even kind of goats it in a little bit and then spits all over it. And I love that. I love that. That is heel 101. And I think Carmella, she does a fantastic job. And, she doesn't have to be, to me, just from a wrestling kayfabe standpoint, she doesn't have to be the best person in the ring as a heel because she has a fantastic character. Now Lana, on the other hand, she's not the best athletically, and her character is kind of, in the middle now. I mean, is she a face? Is she a heel? None of those things are concrete enough for her to say, yes, win this briefcase. Because I can't stand when they kind of hotshot things, you know, and just say, okay, well, this is the flavor of the month right now. Let's make this hot. And then, you know, rescind it and say, well, never mind. I mean, that's what they did with Sandow winning the Money in the Bank. They did the same thing with him. They were like, well, this probably isn't the best thing. They kind of hotshot that idea. And even people can say that with Baron Corbin, although I was cool with Baron Corbin winning. I don't like the fact they kind of hotshot it and they kind of changed their mind. I don't like that type of inconsistency. And if they have Lana win it, I can see the same thing happening with her.
See, I don't agree with Carmella either. I think she's been good as a heel, but she doesn't come across as a main event heel. It's not like you could build that to someone against Ronda Rousey. Heading into WrestleMania, you had all these possibilities. Asuka's undefeated. You had Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss having a great feud. You had Ronda Rousey, you know, in the waiting. And I think by having Charlotte beat Asuka, then just lose to Carmella. After Charlotte beat Asuka, it seemed very credible that the main event of next year's WrestleMania could be Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now it doesn't. Because, you know, her losing to Carmella, Charlotte's cold as hell right now. Granted, you could still build her up, but at this point in time, that does not seem like a WrestleMania main event.
But how many credible opponents are there for Ronda Rousey in the women's division? I mean, we kind of talked about this before.
Nia and Charlotte.
There are some. I mean, there's probably Nia, Charlotte. I think Becky
and Asuka could have been if they didn't beat her.
I think
if her streak was still going on from WrestleMania to next year, that would have been huge.
Oh yeah.
You know, if Asuka would have won the title, Carmella would have cashed it in and still lost, and Asuka would have took her streak to next year's WrestleMania. I can certainly see Ronda versus Asuka as a main event because Asuka's so good in the ring as a worker that she can, you know, kind of accentuate Ronda's positives and make it look really good. Charlotte can do the same thing, but I think Asuka has more stock in her with the streak.
The first singles match if you were to book the first singles match for Rousey, Asuka seems like a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Nia Jax doesn't. Nia Jax, I can't remember the last time she really had a good match. No. You know, she hurts people. I like her, but she's just not the best wrestler. And if you're having someone who's never had a singles match, still hasn't. They changed her singles matches on the tour to 6-person tag team matches. Granted, I'm sure they're going to rehearse the hell out of it, and they're probably going to keep it short. But if you want someone in the ring with Rousey for the first time, Asuka would have been the person to go. And that's why the short-sightedness of beating her when there's no real long-term plan following up from that just made no sense.
Again, what I say, hot-shotting things just to say, I changed my mind, and now just none of it makes sense.
Yeah. People pointing out that Nia Jax had a good match with Asuka, and there you go.
Yeah. Point taken.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of in disarray though right now. I mean, with the women's division.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And I think part of that is Carmella on top. I think Charlotte on top, it would seem a lot more credible. And
yeah, but remember how much that sucked in Raw though when Charlotte was champ, and then it was
great with her and Sasha. That was like the feud of the year.
That was good. No, I'm thinking back to when
the women's feud of the year.
No, I'm thinking back when she was champ and her dad kept helping her win by cheating every match.
Well, it helped establish her. You know, Rick was there to help get her over, and it kind of worked. I mean, once she got rid of him, it didn't feel like she got brought. You know, she was brought down.
And she got even more heat when she got rid of Rick. That promo that she did when she just buried him.
The one with the off-key singing that they kept re-showing again and again for some reason.
But it worked though, because she got crazy heat for it, and that's what she was supposed to do.
She's been established pretty much since then.
Well, and that's the weird part is because during most of her championship reigns, she has been. I mean, Sasha, she did the back and forth with, but I'm trying to think with everyone else, she was kind of unbeatable for a while. It seemed that putting her at the top was a lock, which is, I know you like that, Raj, having, the champ keep it locked down for a while. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what they're going to do right now. If they keep doing 2 women's segments a week, I think there's opportunity for them to rebuild the division. But yeah, Charlotte absolutely needs a comeback trail to go against Ronda Rousey at this point.
Yeah.
So after that match last night, we got Andrade Cien Almas versus an unnamed enhancement talent. Andre, of course, came out with Zelina Vega. And this is how they're building him. They're going from this playbook, which is kind of a nice change from what they did when Bobby Roode and Shinsuke came up from NXT. Chris, how do you think Andrade is faring so far on SmackDown Live?
He's a fantastic worker. I've seen him in New Japan when he was La Sombra and just this time in NXT. Vega is just his ace in the hole, because I think without her, he'd just be bland like he was for a while in NXT. He's kind of in a tough spot now because SmackDown is so flooded with talent that it's tough to just kind of make him kind of above, the rest of them. I can see a feud with him and Jeff Hardy over the U.S. Championship, and I'll be okay with that.
I think it was exactly what it should have been. I think they're bringing him in the right way, introducing him slowly, not assuming that everyone knows who he is. Get him and Vega over to the crowd, and then this was something we had mentioned on the podcast a couple weeks ago. I had said Orton or Jeff Hardy. Orton's obviously out with an injury right now, so Jeff Hardy seems the way to go. He doesn't really have much going on. But Chris, to your point, Raw and SmackDown don't really have that many good heels, so I think that really works to Andrade's favor, because you got on SmackDown you got Samoa Joe, Nakamura, and that it kind of ends there. I'm not counting Big Cass. He's not at a top level yet. Maybe Miz he will get there.
Miz is up there.
Miz is up there too. Yeah, for sure. He's probably number 3 actually. Yeah. So actually, Andrade, Raw almost needs him more than SmackDown does, because Raw has no one. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been just beaten so often that it's hard to take them as top guys.
But it's hard to be a heel, though, and I've heard some wrestlers say this too. It's hard to be a heel, and I think Seth Rollins had this issue too. It's hard to be a heel and be a really good worker. You know what I mean? Because it's like the fans of the modern day fans, they enjoy the work more than the character in many aspects. And I think, with someone like Almas, and this is why he started to get cheered in NXT. I mean, it went from him not, no one cared about him. He was actually getting booed when he was a babyface because he was so bland. When he turned heel, he had, stellar matches, and then he started to get cheered because he was such a good worker. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And but so you gotta take that. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Well, I'm not gonna concede to that, because I think that you have to, from a wrestling standpoint, you have to have a strong character. If you're booked as a heel, you have to be a heel. You know what I mean? I think that the character aspect to that, it has to be something. I know Vega is cutting these kind of heelish promos, but to me, almost doesn't. There's nothing about Andrade seeing almost on the SmackDown roster that looks like a heel.
But so, what do you mean? So then they should start having matches that suck?
No. I think that just it's in the character. I mean, like a heel.
I just don't think even if you have a character like Samoa Joe has a heelish character, but look at the big cheers he's getting when he comes out, and the fans are going,
but
Joe.
He has a really good way of cutting that off at the core.
But during the matches, they start cheering him again.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the fans are going to do what they want to do. Period. But here's the thing: if you're a heel, be a heel. And I think even with Joe, he still does things that looks like a heel, no matter because he has a way. He has a way to say, "Okay, I'm getting cheered," and he's done this before in promos. He'll get cheered, and then he'll do something that the fans will start booing, in an instant. And I think those kind of qualities should be in a heel.
Yeah, and Zelina Vega does cut heel promos. Now, should he be doing super dastardly things right off the bat? I don't think so. I think you got to introduce him, right?
No, I don't. The problem with the heels in the WWE is no one is doing dastardly things.
No, you know who is? You know who the best heel in all of WWE is?
Vince McMahon,
NXT, Tommaso Ciampa.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the type of heat that I love to see. I was at TakeOver in New Orleans, and I wasn't the one saying it, but I was witness to people saying "F you, Ciampa." clap, 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 clap. Like that is NWA heat right there, and that's the stuff I love. You know, it's like
it is lacking. I agree. I love that too.
I've had Jake Roberts on my show before, and he was talking about how like he would go out after when he was a heel in NWA, he would go out to his car and his tires would be slashed. You know, like that's that genuine, real heat. People would throw stuff at him. He would have to protect himself going out of the building. I mean, that is some awesome, awesome heat. And Ciampa is the one who has that heat nowadays. I just think it's just, I guess it's just me just loving that old school feel. If you're a heel, you got to be a heel. I mean, there's not many people that do that. Rollins tried. Rollins was really did his best to do it. Neville, I thought, was great at it. Neville's, yes, absolutely. Neville's another one that was really good. This little subtle stuff, because he would go up for the red arrow, and people would cheer for it, and he would get off the ropes.
Right.
Like this stuff, just simple stuff like
and
that.
And that he keeps it going, like Ciampa, he would keep it going on social media, which I love. Not many people do that.
Yep.
Yeah. No, but Elias is
like they'll be a heel on TV, and then they're playing up, up, down, down with Xavier Woods.
Right. Right.
Maybe that's the key. It's the commitment to it, right? I mean, Kevin Owens, when he was active on Twitter, was big on blocking people and responding and like mocking them. And that was good, but it is very old school. And I think that's what it is. It's not the genuine heat of we hate you. It's the idea that we're doing our part as fans to give the kayfabe reaction to the character.
Even JBL and Jericho, like they didn't want any merch sold when they were heels. Like that's how committed they were. That's how committed they were into, being their character, that as heels, they did not want any merch sold of them. Like that, I highly, highly respect.
Ciampa is doing everything except twirling his mustache right now with his heel angle, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
With Andrade, I think he's going to be more in the anti-hero babyface role, because I just think he looks so money out there. I mean, with Zelina speaking for him, he comes out in the white pants. I mean, looking like $1 million.
It's funny. Someone brought up on in our live chat on Wrestling Inc. that almost looks like Rusev, and now that's all I feel like. That's all I picture. He kind of does.
That's an angle.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Man. So after that last night, we got a short backstage thing with Carmella promoting her match with Asuka at Money in the Bank. Don't think we need to focus on that. The stipulation last night, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura in the ring. Shinsuke calls out that his stipulation in the match is going to be a pillow fight at Money in the Bank. And then they proceed to get into it, have a fight right there, going outside of the ring before Shinsuke gets up and announces it'll be a last man standing match. Why are they teasing us with the pillow fight, man? Like that.
There has been a WrestleMania pillow fight before. So it wouldn't be setting a precedent.
If this goes to Extreme Rules pillow fight.
There you go.
So last man standing.
I thought it was kind of cute. I hope last man standing. I tweeted this last night, but I hope that doesn't mean that they do another non-finish where they're both out for the 10 count.
I can see that though.
I feel like that if they do that, I feel like they've lost that the perfect timing, right? I think Nakamura should be the champ now, and you could have AJ chasing him, and you keep the feud, and that keeps the feud going. But Nakamura is the hottest he's been, I think, since he's been on the main roster. I think he's doing a great job as a heel, and I just think that it's AJ's a little bland right now, and I think that him chasing will probably heat him up too. So I think Nakamura should win and AJ chase him. And then you can also have, it opens up a bunch of possibilities. You still got Daniel Bryan in there. I don't know if they want to put Daniel Bryan in that world title mix yet. I'm sure they want to make sure he's good for a while before even thinking of putting him in. But you do have him there. You do have Jeff Hardy if they ever decided to kind of bump him up a little. So it opens up some new possibilities and some new matches. So I'd like to see that.
Another subtle thing I noticed with Nakamura, his theme music changed a little bit again.
Did it?
Someone mentioned that. I didn't notice it. What was different?
Well, you know how he kind of played to the music, and when he kind of does his pose in the ring, it's like when someone's strumming the violin, just like one single strum. And now they have kind of like a jumbled type of thing. So like he won't even play into that as a heel. See, and again, I think when WWE want to commit to someone to be a babyface or a heel, they do it. And I think they're doing it with Nakamura right now, even changing his music, which I think was a fantastic idea. I love that. And even changing a portion of his music even more to make him look more as a heel and not have the fan involvement, which is great. I think they're all in with this heel turn. I think it's paying off very well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people pointing out in the chat, you know, that we got Extreme Rules, so they could easily be doing the double count out and it leads to like a cage match or something at Extreme Rules. But I don't know. I think fans would just be done with that feud by then if they do another non-finish.
I feel AJ has been almost cursed since he's been in the WWE storyline wise. I feel that he hasn't had
his feud with Cena. I thought was really good.
Yeah, but I think Cena did a lot of the heavy lifting.
And Roman was good too. That's really where I felt like AJ became a real main eventer. He seemed like he was floundering a bit before that Roman feud.
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you, Glenn. But I would say I would add something to it. I would say his feuds as WWE champion, because I think his feud with Ambrose was terrible. I was not a fan of that feud at all, and I think that hurt him as a champion too. Cena was great. But as champion, his two major feuds has been Ambrose and Nakamura, and neither of them made him look good as a champion.
Yeah, I mean the Ambrose stuff had some memorable moments, you know, with the James Ellsworth and stuff. But again, that's not top guy WrestleMania main eventer stuff you do. I think Styles again. I think WWE, and people will get on me about saying too often that someone should turn heel, but WWE just doesn't know how to write for baby faces. And you saw it with AJ Styles tonight when he cracked that joke when Nakamura said the thing about the pillow fight and Styles was making the joke about, you know, King of Soft Style, and it just died. And anytime they have AJ do their scripted humor, he just comes across as lame. So yeah, I think as a babyface, he hasn't had anything that memorable. But hopefully, you know, maybe him chasing Nakamura might change that. But you know, he's super over. I mean, fans love him; they respect him.
No, he's just such a gifted performer.
Right, storyline wise, they haven't given him much.
Yeah. So we shall see where this goes. It's kind of out of nowhere last night.
I think Nakamura should have a shirt that says "Knees to Nuts" or something like that.
Oh, I'm surprised we don't have one. I mean, someone did a retrospective a little while ago about like the 30 worst wrestling T-shirts, and "Knees to Nuts" is better than everything on that list.
I'm
and
sure.
This is stuff, you know.
I mean, he doesn't use the knees yet, though, is the only thing. And forearm to nuts doesn't have the same.
Fist to nuts, you know, whatever.
I don't know. I don't know if that will top Pin Me Pay Me, though. I think that's the
Al Snow.
Good old Job Squad.
All right.
Oh man. Yeah, so last night the Usos versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, #1 contender match. Who's going to get a championship shot against the Bludgeon Brothers at Money in the Bank? Good back and forth in this match. I think the big surprise was that Gallows and Anderson won, which leads me to think that their prospects against the Bludgeon Brothers probably aren't very good. What do you think, Chris? How do you think this fares for Gallows and Anderson now on SmackDown Live?
I was a big fan of this. I like the Usos a lot, but I was a big fan when Gallows and Anderson won. I think that, you know, this is a fresh start for them. I don't know if you know, they'll probably fall victim to the Bludgeon Brothers, unfortunately. But if it was up to me, I would have them win it, honestly, because the Bludgeon Brothers, you know, I'm a big fan of not showing the champions ad nauseum, but at the same time, it's like, you know, the Bludgeon Brothers character isn't strong enough to keep them off air, you know, because it's like their character is so weak that they need to be exposed a little bit more. And just having those Bludgeon Brother, the promos that they do with the rubber mallets hitting the camera at the end of it. I mean, just all of that is just so just Bush League garbage to me. And it's like, there's nothing about the Bludgeon Brothers that as appealing to me. I mean, I'm a big fan of Luke Harper as a worker, but at the same time, it's like, you know, they just have to change, and I don't think they're heels. I don't think they're strong enough as heels to make baby faces look good, and that's what you should be. And I think with Gallows and Anderson, unfortunately, because they're not strong enough heels, when they beat the baby faces and make the baby faces look even worse. So I hope this isn't just to feed them to the Bludgeon Brothers. I can see it happening, but hopefully it's a fresh start for Gallows and Anderson.
I'm pretty sure it's just a placeholder for them, something for them to do. You know, I think look at how much it matters who's on top, like who has the title, and just you know, for last night with the Usos, I think it was the right call to have Gallows and Anderson win because the Usos and Bludgeon Brothers has been done to death already. But the SmackDown tag team division seemed on fire when Usos were the champs, and you had Usos and the New Day feuding, and now it just feels like, you know, the Bludgeon Brothers as champs has just brought it down. It just, no one cares about the Bludgeon Brothers, and all the work that the Usos and New Day have done, it just seems kind of like falling by the wayside. I think he could have brought the revival, and you know, kind of given them a little more, and they could have had some killer matches with both of those guys. It would have been something the fans would have been into, and Gallows and Anderson too. But this, with the Bludgeon Brothers, any feud they're in right now, it just kind of feels like you're in tag team purgatory.
I wonder, at Money in the Bank, they didn't show a Sanity promo last night. I wonder if Sanity, they save them for Money in the Bank and have them run in on this match.
I can see that.
As baby faces?
I don't know. Do you want to put them in the tag team title situation right off the bat? When, again, you know, there was that mistake with bringing in NXT people and a lot of the fans not knowing who they are.
What are they going to do? I mean, who's Sanity coming in and feud with?
New Day?
Yeah. I mean, that seems mixing universes, you know.
But I mean, who else do you got? What other
the Usos now are available.
Who?
The Usos are available now.
The Usos, yeah.
I don't know. The Bar is doing stuff with the Miz against the New Day. So yeah, we'll see. Still got a couple weeks left of Money in the Bank. Yeah, Gallows and Anderson with the Magic Killer last night became the new #1 contenders for the tag team titles on SmackDown. Money in the Bank qualifier, last SmackDown Money in the Bank qualifier for the women, Naomi versus Sonya Deville last night, with Naomi picking up a win. Chris, did you think that was going to be the outcome of this?
I was pleasantly surprised that it was because part of me thought that Deville was going to pull it off, which I'm glad she didn't. I'm just a big fan of Naomi. I think that she's one of the most consistent people on the roster, just a very solid worker. And, you know, I was happy that she won the Battle Royal. She actually got a really – I was there live at WrestleMania. She got a really huge pop for that, and I thought that was really cool. And, you know, I think that they played on it. You know, they were saying that she's having momentum. They did mention that she won the Battle Royal and that she won a qualifying match. So I'll be okay with that. I mean, to me, I think that if I would pick two people that I would hope to win the Money in the Bank, it would be either Naomi or Ember Moon. Like, I think either one of them would benefit greatly from winning the case.
Yeah, I think Naomi improves the quality of the match. I think it makes more sense for her to be in it. So I was glad with this ending. I think Sonya Deville has improved greatly. I think she looks good. But yeah, I think the right person won in this case.
It is kind of interesting. The Money in the Bank women's card is a lot more tilted towards the perennials, the established women's faces, rather than the injection of new talent they've had.
Well, you got Ember Moon, Alexa Bliss, you know, who weren't on the main card 2 years ago, and so
but Ember's not like a newcomer.
Yeah, but it's not like they're a bunch of they've been around for 10 years and stuff.
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely. But you know, it's funny.
James, Michelle McCool comes
Mickey
back
could still get in. Mickey could still get in next week.
She could.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, because they're kind of with an 8-woman match. I think you want to have some trusted hands.
Yeah, you definitely don't want a bunch of rookies.
Yeah.
I could see Sasha if it's true that she signed a new contract. I could see her winning it, the gauntlet next week. But yeah, I mean, I think you want your best workers in a match like this.
Yeah,
you don't want people being like, oh, that the women's Money in the Bank sucked and the men's was great or anything like that. Right. You want to have your best people.
I think Naomi's probably also benefited a lot from Total Divas in terms of people just knowing her and liking her. I think she kind of became one of those low-key stars that you didn't realize until they put the title on her, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, how over she was.
I think a lot of people would disagree and say that it's two different worlds because
I don't think
I don't watch Total Divas. My wife,
nor do I, but every woman that cuts my hair wants to talk about it at length.
Yeah, my wife, she watched a few seasons of it. It's funny because I'll be in my office doing some work and I'll go upstairs and my wife will be doing laundry watching Total Divas, and she's like the most casual of casual wrestling fans. But she's into Total Divas, so it's like two different worlds. Like for the guy, it's like I'm not interested, but the casual wife wrestling fan is like, oh yeah, did you see what happened on Total Divas? I can't believe that Rusev did that to Lana. I'm like, I don't know.
I have the nerdiest reason for not watching it because my wife and I see the promos in this last season, what they did with Natalya and Carmella. We're like, oh, that's interesting, but we're like, oh my god, the Total Divas storylines are like 6 months behind where the WWE is, and I kid you not, that was the deciding factor why we're not going to watch it because we feel like it's old.
I feel like they can tie them in more, and if they did, it would get more of that Total Divas audience watching actual WWE product.
Absolutely.
But I agree with Chris. I think there's two different universes. It's like when Natalya comes across as the biggest babyface on that show, but it hasn't been translated over to her being a top babyface. I think, and Naomi has just been around a while and she's worked hard. Yep. She's kind of in this, you know what happened when you're on top and then you kind of get pushed down for a while.
And that entrance,
and she's kind of in that spot right now.
When she re-debuted with that entrance post Team Bad, when she came in with the glow entrance and doing all of that, I mean, that was like a totally different person re-debuting compared to the reactions she got before that.
Oh, certainly. I think this is the best Naomi that she's ever been. And I think that the character really helped her. She's always been a great worker. I mean, she's always been a good worker, I'll say. She's always been a good worker. But just she was lacking that character element, like I always say. I mean, This is wrestling. It's about characters, and I think the character element is what Naomi was lacking, and now we see it because the character that was strong. It made her as a person more main event like than just being a good worker as Team Bad or with the Usos. So I think it really kind of broke the glass ceiling when she started doing the glow stuff.
Mm-hmm. Then we had so she won that last night over Sonya Deville. She did the roll up out of nowhere on Sonya and got that Money in the Bank spot. We will see Monday night on Raw. Like, was it 7-8 woman gauntlet match for the second chance? We'll see who comes out on top there for that last spot in the women's Money in the Bank. We had the second chance Money in the Bank qualifier last night. Jeff Hardy versus Daniel Bryan. The winner of this match will go on to face Samoa Joe on next week's SmackDown. Samoa Joe was on commentary last night, and he's so good at this. He was being quite magnanimous and putting both guys over, and then ending it with, "Oh yeah, but I'm gonna destroy whichever one of them wins this match."
Yeah. He's great on commentary. I wonder if WWE doesn't like him mentioning that he's faced Daniel Bryan outside of WWE. They usually want it to appear like everything's happening there for the first time.
But you got to think last match on SmackDown, though. I mean, like 20 minutes left to go in the show. Vince is probably as tuned out as Vince gets in gorilla position.
If it was Raw, I could see them talking to him when he got back. With SmackDown, who knows?
Vince was already in the limo on the way to the plane.
Well, they mentioned it, though. They said that it's their first time
after
in WWE.
Right, after, but that was also after Samoa Joe had said that on commentary. But I
don't think that would have made a difference, though.
That's probably true. But they didn't say flat out also say that they've wrestled elsewhere before. So saying in WWE that keeps it factual, but you know what I mean.
They miss some factors to it, but they indirectly tell the truth.
Right.
So Hardy versus Daniel Bryan last night, great match. Took up, yeah, it was probably went for about 20 minutes with the entrances. Notable that Hardy tapped out of Bryan's leg submission for Daniel Bryan to get the win.
They're really selling that heel hook. I like that.
Yeah. What did you think of the match, Chris?
Good match. I like the build to it. You see, that's the thing with, again, it goes back to characters. I think that Daniel Bryan versus Jeff Hardy was so good. And I like the promos they had beforehand to really build the matchup, because they were talking about two legends. And I love when Daniel Bryan was saying Daniel Bryan versus Jeff Hardy in 2018. They actually got a pop even when he said that, which I was a big fan of. And it just had two really strong characters that collided. I think that didn't need a big build. I think it was really good. Here's my problem, though. The fact that Jeff Hardy is losing consecutive matches as U.S. champ, I am not a fan of that at all.
Yeah.
Cleanly, too. He lost to Miz clean, and he tapped out to Daniel Bryan, which I think that decreases his stock as champion. I don't like when champions lose cleanly like this, especially consecutively. AJ Styles did it at the end of the year. I think that was terrible that they did that. And I think Jeff Hardy's the same way. I think he's a rock star. He's super over still. He can really do something fantastic with that U.S. championship, but they're having him lose match after match nowadays, which doesn't help him at all, or the title.
Yeah, the title's been kind of a non-factor since the Superstar shakeup.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Chris. I say that all the time. I hate champions losing, especially clean. It just brings the title down a notch. But then again, Daniel Bryan shouldn't have lost either. He should be protected some. I mentioned this before, but when it was announced that he was coming back, that was like the gigantic story, and they've cooled it off. He's been cooled off significantly since then. He's just another top guy, but not a top guy. And so, I'm all for him getting his momentum, because I'm all for protecting your top stars. But Jeff Hardy could be there too. So it's kind of one of those things, you book yourself into a corner. And so when you do this match, I think the right person won. But, I agree. I wouldn't have done that. I'd keep, Jeff Hardy already got beat, keep him out of it. And you could have just done Joe versus Daniel Bryan this week. Now, one thing I don't like is that they're throwing away all these Daniel Bryan like dream matches for free on TV. Now, as a fan, it's great. But if I worked in WWE, I'd be like, save these for the pay-per-view.
Like, what's Mike Kanellis doing this week? Why don't we have Mike Kanellis versus Daniel Bryan?
Yeah, there's a bunch of people you could put in. But like I said, you could have just done Samoa Joe. You could just gone straight to that match.
I agree. Yeah.
But again, the slow build, who knows? Those days might be. I mean, they feel done anyway. But now pay-per-view is going to mean, and by pay-per-view I mean on the network. But it means less and less now. Right now, most of the revenue, 190 million was from pay-per-view, and you had like 150, 160 from their TV deal. Now it's 2.5 times from the TV deal over the network. So TV means more than anything. So
absolutely.
Well, I think I guess that's kind of like the unfortunate part for Daniel Bryan, because I think what's hurting him so much is that he's being overexposed. I think, like you said, Raj, they made such an elaborate story that he came back. It was first time competing in 3 years. The match at WrestleMania, it meant so much. It was a tag team match, but it meant so much. Crowd was going bananas over Daniel Bryan, and now he's just one of the guys. There's no distinction between Daniel Bryan and anyone else. And I think because he's overexposed, he's there every week. I wasn't opposed to the feud with Big Cass. However, I think it's not necessary. I think we don't need to see Daniel Bryan every week. I think if you want these dream matches, that's when you bring Daniel Bryan back, after Money in the Bank or things like that, to build to those dream matches for the SummerSlams, for the Survivor Series, for the Royal Rumbles. But now it's like there's nothing different about Daniel Bryan from anybody else.
Yeah, at the very least, you don't have him wrestle every week.
Exactly.
You could do a promo. We could do something backstage.
That's true. I kind of miss the character Daniel Bryan that we saw with him as GM. We're learning now that he was miserable that entire time. Yeah. But I think yeah, I feel like Daniel Bryan, the character, just putting him in the ring, we're missing out on what makes him a great 360-degree all-around superstar.
He's such a natural babyface. Fans love him. You know, I said this last week. I think he's the best babyface promo right now on Raw or SmackDown. Put him in a storyline that fans can really get into.
Yeah.
Now maybe, granted, maybe now is not the time because it's kind of the dead period. This is almost like a creative off season for WWE. You know, after the superstar shakeup until July, you don't really see much as far as big events or
but look what they did this year for their quote unquote on season between the Rumble and WrestleMania. I mean,
well, you had the Cena Undertaker stuff, but they were trying. It sucked. It was the worst way to do that match.
But that's what I'm saying.
There was an effort being put in, whereas now
is that better or worse though? Is it better or worse when they're trying?
It depends what they come up with. Like Goldberg versus Lesnar was really good, you know, and the feud that they had. So it all depends on which way they go. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm already forgetting what the Raw. What was the Raw Championship match? It was Lesnar and Reigns. I thought, you know, they did some good stuff with that, with Reigns bringing up that Lesnar wasn't there and Lesnar not showing up.
The best 2 weeks of Roman Reigns' career, in my opinion.
I don't remember that.
Well, the one when he cut the promo of Brock never showing up, and then the week after when he confronted Vince McMahon and Vince McMahon banned him from the building. Yeah, that's when I was like, I'm into this. I like Roman Reigns. Finally.
Well, I think Roman's getting much better in his promos. I think his promo stuff was pretty good, and it's funny because you know, he's it's so funny because I was listening to a bunch of interviews of different wrestlers who went against Roman Reigns and they just put him over like crazy. I listened to a Miz interview. He put him over like crazy. Jericho's put Reigns over like crazy. Daniel Bryan's put Reigns over like crazy. And that was one of the biggest things that his promo was weak. And I think that he's improved substantially from, you know, a year ago. And I think that we see that. I think he's more natural on the mic. You can tell the Roman Reigns cookie cutter script type of promos that he had, like he looked uncomfortable, but I think now he feels more comfortable on the mic, and I think you see it.
I think Roman is better than a lot of guys on the mic. Like, I think his promos, AJ, I rolled my eyes a lot because of the comedy that they script for him. But the fans have put, you know, they have it in their minds that they're going to boo Roman no matter what. So no matter what you do, they're going to boo. So either you change course. It's broken record. I think we say it every podcast. They really need to turn him heel badly. And you got a top heel. He could kill in that role, or you just keep doing what you're doing. The fans are convinced they're going to keep booing him. They got their minds made up. And there you go.
Yeah. We shall see. So next week, Samoa Joe versus Daniel Bryan.
Real quick, I was thinking about just about the Daniel Bryan thing real quick.
Yes.
I think we were talking about him just being booked in that underdog role. To me, if I was Booker, this kind of goes back with the AJ Styles thing. I would be totally a fan if Nakamura beats AJ, he beats him on the SmackDown after Money in the Bank. I would be totally a fan of the club coming back together as heels and feuding against Daniel Bryan and taking that over to SummerSlam.
I'm into that.
He would be a huge underdog.
Although Daniel versus The Miz, I still think is the biggest.
Yeah, I think that's the way they should go.
Yeah, it's not. They haven't mentioned it so much, so it's kind of.
But I think that's why, because they don't want to give it away yet. I think.
Yeah, they don't. Honestly, I think that couldn't even go to the Royal Rumble. I mean, to me, I think that Daniel Bryan needs that underdog factor that really made him over, because, like I said, he's just one of the guys now. Yeah, and I would be much interested in Daniel Bryan, who wasn't overexposed against The Miz, as opposed to how they're booking Daniel Bryan now against The Miz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We shall see next week. Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan. Who do you got, Chris?
I think Joe's going to take it.
I agree.
I think it makes sense. I think if they wanted Bryan in the match, he would have qualified originally for this.
And then again, I think booking themselves in your corner. I don't think they should have Daniel Bryan losing right now.
Yeah. Let's see.
All right. So Big Cass wasn't on tonight. They showed him backstage on crutches. So it's weird because it didn't seem like a storyline tonight. Like they didn't do anything with it. So we'll see if it's legit or not. I mean, he worked every show on the European tour, and he was selling that leg injury from the toe hold. So it could have been just they didn't want to do Cass and Joe, and this was their way of getting out of it. So we'll see. I mean, they haven't announced anything officially. Like usually if there's a real injury, they'll say that's, they're going to get an MRI done or something like that. But they haven't mentioned anything like that. So I'd assume it's a storyline, but they didn't further it really other than taking him out of the match. Yeah.
Also news this week, WWE pay-per-views are going to run longer.
Oh yeah, someone's bringing up they could see Cass costing Daniel Bryan next week. That's actually
Come on with a crutch, hit him.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Longer pay-per-views, Rush.
Yeah, so now all the B shows are basically going to be 4 hours plus the kickoff, so 5. That's what WrestleMania was, right? Or was WrestleMania 5?
WrestleMania was 5 plus
5, 6 with the kick.
Or was it 4 with a 2-hour kickoff?
It was very long.
I think it was 4 with the 2-hour kickoff.
5 to 7, and then 7 to 11, and some change.
And it went over a little. Yeah. So now those are going to be 5 hours with the plus a kickoff. So WrestleMania, if they do a 2-hour kickoff, that's 7 hours. SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, those are going to be 5 hours with a 1-hour kickoff. So holy, that's a lot of TV time. There's gonna be, unless those shows are spectacular, there's gonna be some tired men on the podcast afterwards.
Oh yes.
See, and I think that's the factor if they're good, because people complain about. See, here's the thing. I don't like the 4-hour minor pay-per-view idea at all. I think it goes back to the word of the podcast, overexposure. And I think it's not going to help anything because the 3-hour shows hasn't been good. So making it 1 more hour isn't going to make it better. I'm
kidding. How long did Backlash feel by the end?
3 hours. It'll be even more to complain about. But I'm not the guy who complains about the long WrestleManias. People have talked about having it 2 days. I wouldn't even be okay with that. I like it the 1 day. I just think it needs a better quality of a product, because people don't complain about Wrestle Kingdom being 6 hours long. I think, and I think that the reason why is because the quality of a 6-hour Wrestle Kingdom event is much better than the quality of a 5-hour WrestleMania. Keep us intrigued, and 5 hours will go by in no time, but that's the problem with WWE booking nowadays. They don't keep us intrigued enough to not notice that it's 5 hours long.
Plus, all the matches are usually booked the same. So you're seeing a lot of sameness, the styles and the way they go to the finishes and everything. Wrestle Kingdom, they mix up the types of matches. Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like, I don't mind a long wrestling show if it's good. Just so many of these just fizzle out by the end. And it's funny because there'll be a lot of good stuff on the show, but by the end, you're left with a bad taste in your mouth because the last couple matches had no heat and it just felt boring. They want to get everyone on the show, or as many people, as many bodies on the show, and it's noble, but it just adds more filler is what it does.
I think we can say that with a lot of pay-per-views nowadays is that if we look at the pay-per-view and we booked the pay-per-view differently, it would be better received. Like, it's interesting to say this, but honestly, there were some rumblings about it, and I know personally I shot it down. Like, I hope this doesn't happen. But honestly, if the mixed tag was the main event of WrestleMania, I think it would have been received much better than what it was, with Reigns and Lesnar.
Oh, that's what I said right after the show. I said if they had Reigns and Lesnar in the middle and the Ronda Rousey match as the main event, it would have been a much better show.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we'll see what closes Money in the Bank. I'm assuming the men's Money in the Bank match, but who knows? Roman versus Jinder, man.
Yeah, or if they're doing a title change, then I'd go with AJ and Nakamura.
Yeah, that's true. We shall see. What else we got before we take this home, Raj?
ESPN came out today, so they got a second deal with UFC. So $1.5 billion over 3 years. Kind of crazy that SmackDown over 5 years is a little over $1 billion. So it's not all that much more than SmackDown for basically all of the UFC rights. So it's the broadcast. It's going to be 10 full UFC events on ESPN, and then plus, another 15 on ESPN Plus. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a ton of UFC events. They're going to mean less than ever. But yeah, I mean, it's a big money deal. They got, what is that? So that's $300 million a year then. So wow. They were hoping for 400. So it's still a great deal. Yep. So yeah, strong TV deal for them. WWE making money, and with Fox, now they're out of the UFC business. They probably have extra money. So if they wanted to add some WWE shows to FS1, whether it be NXT or whatever, I don't know if 205 Live would do well enough for FS1, but it would probably beat a lot of the other programming. So
true. Here's an interesting question. If one of the big topics of discussion of the past few days, that if you make SmackDown live or taped, if it is live on that Friday night, I wonder how that would factor into the Hall of Fame being on Fridays during WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, that seems like, I think the Hall of Fame is it seems like it's dying out a little bit. Like
literally and figuratively.
I stopped by there this year, and man, the crowd was dead. People were leaving as soon as I got there. I mean, we didn't stay for the whole thing, but it might be better to just move it to the afternoons or do something. Because
I think doing separate inductions during Access, even maybe just bring and then tape them all and air them in one package. I think that might go over better.
I think they want the money from that though. I think it's still the spectacle of it, still the luster of it, and things.
Do they sell
like
that on pay-per-view though? I thought it was just on the network.
No, but the tickets for the show.
Oh yeah,
because you're still doing it at an arena, and
right.
Maybe it was half sold out this year, but that's still a good house.
Exactly. Yeah. I was there, and I don't know. I think you still have those people who are interested. I was there the whole time, and it's still, I don't know. It's still the kid in me who likes to see those Hall of Fame speeches. I think WWE kind of feels like that too. Like you don't want to take that away, especially you don't want to take the ticket sales away either. Maybe, I was thinking about this. Maybe you do. I don't know if this would affect the ticket sales. Maybe you do Hall of Fame at 10 o'clock, which still would be super duper late. Maybe you change,
or just that week you just have SmackDown tape that week.
Right. I was going to say, well, you still don't want to go head with the Hall of Fame, do you?
It doesn't matter. I mean, they've done that. They've done that before, where SmackDown would air on Friday nights, and you had NXT or whatever on Friday nights.
Why not sell tickets? I mean, put Hall of Fame on Fox. Why not on that Friday? Sell tickets.
Or maybe do Hall of Fame on a Thursday, or move. Maybe that. Yeah. They could add another night to WrestleMania. I think making Thursday the start of WrestleMania weekend,
because it kind of already is. There's stuff going on that Thursday night, so it's kind of like it would be the unofficial kickoff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We shall see. Before we head home here, Chris, what do you want to plug? Where can people find your stuff on the interwebs?
I've been kind of like the breaking news editor on Wrestling Inc. the past few days, with, covering a lot of the recent news about the deals. Of course, follow my work on Wrestling Inc. And of course, the Pancakes and Power Slam show. We have an interview every week. Last night we had a Q&A with a good buddy of mine, Lance Archer from Killer Elite Squad. Every week we have a wrestler interview, and just check out Twitter. Follow me at Chris Prolific. Every now and then I'll have a live Q&A for you all to be involved in. Otherwise, continue to follow us on the YouTube channel, Pancakes and Power Slam Show. The interaction has been very fun. I have trivia every week. Just very interactive. 321 episodes so far, and as Shelton Benjamin's theme song would say, ain't no stopping me now.
Nice, man. Raj, what do you got coming up on the site?
Just usual craziness. So even though it's kind of slow news couple of weeks, we still got tons of content, tons of articles, so keep checking it out.
Awesome, man. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. You can find me on Twitter at Glenn Rubenstein. Live tweet along with Raw, SmackDown, and NXT most weeks. Give me a follow and a shout there. And until next time, folks, we'll see you back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.